And the other thing, so now that the US is considering to allow NVIDIA to sell H200 chips, uh,
Yeah.
I thought that they already agreed to that, but then they kind of backtrack, they don't. But now they want
Yeah.
it again. But I think
Uh,
the reason for that is Huawei's latest phone, Mate 80. Now people suspect that Huawei has its own 5 nanometers chips in there.
yeah.
And
I'm
also
sure it does.
SMIC also seems like have produced
Yeah.
their own 5 nanometer chips. So
Yes.
when, when you watch what the US allows China to do, you can get a sense where China is, isn't it?
Well, that is exactly right. I'm going to say this. I mean, about, was it extreme ultraviolet lithography and all of that? China will have one of those machines in a year.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. I mean, if it perhaps it already has one,
Uh-huh.
because we
Yeah.
don't really know. But I mean, the idea that the Chinese cannot manufacture high-end chips is absurd. I mean, these people are not living in the real world.
Mhm.
And you're absolutely right. They're now going to go and try and get these chips, NVIDIA chips, sent off to China. The Chinese have already said we're not really interested in
Yeah.
these chips anyway. So why are you giving us those?
Mhm.
By the way, there was a very interesting article in the Financial Times, very, very interesting article. Again, very reflective of Western thinking, but about Chinese economic and trade policy. It was a businessman, a writer for the Financial Times, goes to China, and he says, the fundamental problem with trading with China is that the Chinese make everything better and cheaper than we do. So that is somehow wrong and absolutely extremely unfair. So what China needs to do for its own interests is that it's got to somehow agree to buy more of our things, because otherwise we can't really trade with China fairly anymore. So what he's basically saying is that China, in its own interests, must buy less good and more expensive things from the West rather than produce them more cheaply and efficiently and better for itself. And I mean, I remember reading this article and saying to myself, what planet does this man live on? I mean, it's so completely ludicrous. But this is the story. I mean, China makes better chips than Nvidia designs, so we get the Chinese to buy Nvidia chips instead of their better Chinese ones.
Well, the trade, I mean, the trade war is still going on, like in
Of course it is.
Nexperia.
Of
So
course.
Nexperia is the latest one, is the Nexperia Dutch headquarters. They sent a letter to
Yeah.
Nexperia China and demanding that it resume production.
Yeah.
And they're saying there's still many companies that have shortage of chips.
Yeah.
So it seems like even though the Dutch government said they're going to temporarily suspend their effort to control the company, which basically says they return the company back, but they hasn't, for example,
No.
restored the CEO.
No.
So are they trying to muddle it through, even though they said they are, give it back,
Yeah.
but they're not
But
really give it back, right?
well, it's exactly what they're doing. It's what they do all the time. They say they will give it back, and then they don't. They
Yeah.
want they want the chips, but they don't want to return to the position of returning the company to its owners. So they say they're going to do it, but they don't really mean it. There's no real good faith. There's no sincerity in what they say, and of course, it is very bad because all it does is it damages trust even further. So the Chinese will say to themselves, "Why on earth should we waste our time even talking to these people when they talk, out of one side of their mouth,
Mhm.
but what the other side is saying or what they're really thinking is something completely different."
Yeah, and China brought this matter to EU. It seems like it
Yeah,
ignored the even the
yeah,
whole Dutch government. It seems like
yeah,
so we'll see.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it does seems I don't like this
I,
kind
I,
of
what I no what I think is actually going to happen. I think it's going to be very interesting because I saw what the Chinese Commerce Ministry did a few weeks ago was that they said, look, anybody who's short of chips, they should get in touch with us.
yeah.
Forget about the Dutch government. Forget about the management of Nexpedia, Netherlands. Forget about the EU. Talk to us.
Hmm.
And I think quietly, probably a lot of businesses are doing it.
Yeah.
In other words, you cut out these institutions entirely.
Yeah, the way that the Netherlands are doing right now, I do feel they're kind of like a self-destructive the thing they're doing. I
Yes.
don't quite get it. The same thing with ASML. So another thing happened is ASML, they sold a lot of lithography machines to China, but now they stopped serving those machines, including spare
Oh,
parts and
really?
yeah. And so now China demanded that the ASML buy all these lithography machines back because if they're broken, you can't use them. Because what they're doing is this is a breach of contract. The contract always says you have obligations to serve those machines, but they stopped doing that. I think it's because the U.S. asked them or whatever reason they stopped doing that. So the China said you have to buy them back. And if you don't, China will stop recognizing all the patent. There's a lot of patent for, and they're going to reverse engineering or something. So that's another thing that is going on the spat between the Netherlands and
I had no idea about this. There's been no reporting of this in the media here. I think this is a very, very big thing indeed. I mean, that ASML is now refusing to provide
Mhm.
servicing and repair for the machines in China is incredible. And I wonder what the justification for taking that extraordinary step actually is. I mean that is incredibly escalatory and incredibly aggressive, and as you absolutely rightly say, a blatant breach of contract.
Mhm.
So clearly, sanctions are being applied, and they're being expanded continuously and all the time. And before very long, China will indeed take countermeasures.
Yeah.
This isn't the Netherlands. This is the United States. I
Mhm.
mean, Trump meets with Xi. They do a kind of deal. They promised to do various things. They wrote back on some of the things they've done, but you see that they've come back and are doing others. By the way, you remember we talked about a study in the Rand Corporation that the Rand
Mhm.
Corporation published about 2 weeks ago about the US should, instead of being an adversary to China, seek to have better relations with it. That article has been taken down.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. They don't want to hear that, huh?
no, no, no. Obviously, some people were very unhappy about it,
Okay.
and the hardliners have won again. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't even talk about that. That's pretty incredible.
No,
Okay.
yeah, no, absolutely. But what is happening with ASML is even more incredible,
Mhm.
actually.
Yeah.
And frankly, I hope we do get into a situation where China just takes apart these machines and reverse engineers them because it
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the idea that China cannot make mirrors, everybody always talks about mirrors, that, only Carl Zeiss in Germany has the
Mhm.
skills to make really good mirrors. I mean, they still think that Chinese people are peasants living in the 13th century. That they can imitate, but they can't do, and of course they cannot reproduce the high technology things that we in the West can do. I mean, as you said it yourself. The racism here is
Yeah. Yes.
off
Yeah.
the scale,
Uh-huh.
actually. But this denying of servicing to the ASML machines
Mhm.
is an incredibly aggressive
Yeah.
move. And again, it's striking that, as I said, no one in the media has mentioned it. When did it start, by the way?
They have stopped serving it for the past, I think, a couple months, something.
Okay,
When
interesting.
first they
Okay,
threatened that they said that they're going to stop serving it, and I guess giving China the opportunity to buy some parts or something. I don't know. They didn't act on
okay,
upon it, immediately.
okay, okay.
China even didn't think it will, get to that point,
No,
but they eventually did that. I think they talked a
wow.
little bit about how to resolve it or something, and they couldn't figure out. I mean, fundamentally, the Dutch government doesn't really want to resolve it. I think that's
No, of
the
course it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. By the way, anybody who knows anything about the Netherlands, I mean, I know the Netherlands very well. I've been there. I used to go a lot as a student. None of this in any way surprises me. I
Mhm.
mean, the Netherlands is little England, and many of the attitudes that you find
Yeah.
in England are reproduced in the Netherlands. Remember, the Netherlands is a massive colonial power,
Yeah.
and a lot of the mindset has never gone away.
Yeah. Even though it's a small country, but here's
It's a
something I
small
find.
country. It's
Yes.
a small country
Country.
that depends on its exports of precision machinery.
Hmm.
I mean, it's a major producer of precision machinery and of machine tools and things of that kind. For the Netherlands to put all that in jeopardy it's very, very dangerous in terms of its own long-term economic future. But the Dutch are very, very pro-American. They're
Hmm.
intensely pro-American. That I always remember, and
Well,
they're axiomatically the kind of people who would act like this.
well, China is Japan's largest trading partner. So
I
for
know.
yeah, so for Japan, you need to think about your own best
I
interest,
know.
right? You would
I
think
know.
that they would,
I
but
know.
obviously they don't. So, um,
Yeah.
and then there's, I just find it's fascinating. Sometimes, many times, maybe the small country, they are troublemakers.
Yes, they
So,
are. Yeah.
like Estonia recently, I think their foreign
Yeah.
minister visited China, and during the trip or shortly after, there was an article called "The Formidable Estonia has issues had issued an ultimatum to China: either we or Russia." I mean, isn't that laughable that they would think China would choose Estonia over Russia? Are
I
they
know.
serious?
Well, I'm sure that Wang Yi and Xi Jinping and Li Qiang are trembling in their shoes after receiving this ultimatum from Estonia. No, I absolutely agree. I mean, these people are off there. I mean, they have no. They're completely disconnected from reality. I mean, and if you have to deal with the Baltic states on a regular basis, you would know how delusional they are about themselves. And you're absolutely right. I mean, it's like little dogs. Chihuahuas are always much
Mhm,
more
mhm.
aggressive
Yeah.
than St. Bernards. I mean, it's that. It's like that.
Yeah, Lithuania is another one when you're talking about the Baltic
Yes, and
states, right? Lithuania,
yes,
they remember they upset China for allowing Taiwan
no,
to change their name from
yes,
Taipei office into Taiwan office or something. Minor issue that really doesn't mean much, but they upset China. And now I think the Lithuania government, maybe there's a new one, they have the second thoughts that they really want to improve the
yeah,
relationship with China. But instead of correct their mistake, which is a simple one, just tell whatever the office, tell them to correct the name. They don't, and they still send out a proposal. I think early this year, and then saying something like, this is our proposal, and that's you need to take it seriously or something. And China didn't even answer, didn't even bother, and
no,
now they got
no,
very agitated. So now they have follow up, like almost like an ultimatum as well, just like Estonia.
no.
It's it's so incredible.
It is. It is. It is incredible. Yeah.
In China, people call these Baltic three. They call them the three Baltic dummies.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
they're
there's a
right to. Yeah, they're right. I mean, I would say that they have managed to poison the atmosphere in Europe a great deal. I mean, their hysteria and their Russophobia and their xenophobia
Mhm,
is now contaminating the whole entire European culture and
mhm.
discourse on international relations. For you to know, by the way, in Russia, they've recently started calling Germany Greater Estonia.
But do you think that these small countries, including the Dutch, I mean, all these small countries, European countries, is because they are in NATO, they're in EU, so that's
Yes,
why
yes,
they're like a
yes,
chihuahua barking
yes.
everywhere.
Exactly,
Um,
exactly. I mean, they think that they have the power of the United States behind them,
okay,
and they
okay.
want to use that in order to assert themselves. So they think that by taking these incredibly provocative line against a country like China, that will make their friends in America happy. And at the same time, they also feel that by being as rude and as aggressive to China as they are,
Mhm.
they can get away with it because the Americans are supporting them.
Yes.
So they're wrong on every conceivable count. I mean, this is unwise to an extreme, But I'm afraid it's how these infantile leaders of these little countries have come to think.